on it day one because I really enjoy it, and it's
I actually necessarily wouldn't say it's a bad that you waited, because at first it actually kind of got boring for me when I jumped in pretty early on because I had Game Pass at the time and it was free, so I was like, I tried it out and it was okay, but it was really didn't have near as much at the time. So it might be good that you come in now that they have more content and all that.
Right on. Yeah, I think the reason I wish I had started sooner is there's some all the gear in the game's cosmetic.
Right.
And there's some really cool stuff that is unavailable now.
Oh, yeah. And I don't know. I've never been big on the cosmetic stuff. I don't know. It's like I want stuff. If I'm working towards a goal, it's not for anything cosmetic. It's just not going to be.
Yeah, well, that's all that all the stuff in the game is cosmetics. So
yeah, which actually kind of bugs me about it, honestly.
Well, it's good because it means that someone like myself can just come in, and once you learn the mechanics, at the same level as everyone else.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, I do think that over time you should be able to get a little bit better gear. I'm not saying, definitely no pay to win. Absolutely not. I hate pay to win.
Yeah.
But I think it could really, I think that, for completing missions, especially bigger stuff, especially now that they're the new area. I mean, we did the holiday stuff recently. Mm-hmm. And I think if, instead of doing just a holiday event, have like more big bosses that, are, ongoing. They're always there. You can always complete it and earn some equipment, like maybe a little more powerful cannons or, something like that. Nothing too game changing, but maybe have like the rifle, the sniper rifle, whatever. I can't remember.
The far reach?
Far reach, yes.
Far reach, yeah.
Yeah, and have something like that with maybe some better optics. Because I hate the optics of it. It drives me crazy. Get something like that, maybe a little bit straighter shooting, or just something simple. I'm not talking like big changes, big gear, whatever. Just something better. I like that aspect of certain games. So,
Michael, I agree. Everyone does hate pay to win.
Well, yeah.
Fortunately, a lot of games are going there. But the reason I know that they can't do better gear for more seasoned players is the game is always PvP. There is no PvE service. So you then discourage new players that are getting schooled easier from playing because they're going to be going up against people trying to grief them.
I understand what you're saying, but at the same time, I think that a lot of it's really your advantages are at this point in time are bigger crews. Like, for me, there were so many times where I would go in, jump in on my own, and that's really difficult to do, especially if you come up against other players that want to kill you. It's like they got a crew of 4, and you're this one little guy on a little swoop, and what are you going to do? You have to run away. And that's frustrating. If I had some better equipment as a solo player, maybe then I could have stood a chance. And that was one of the reasons why I haven't played it that much, is because going solo gets frustrating. And so you got to have people there. Yeah.
Hang on just a second.
Simple one.
All right, so let's get into our main topic, indie games. So, the last, I'd say probably 10 years, you've really seen a shift from AAA titles with some, we'll call them AA titles. Your smaller studios games like Alpha Protocol and stuff like that.
Right.
Which those ones really don't exist anymore.
No.
But in its wake, you found these smaller indie studios coming out with a lot of games, and that's good and bad. We do get a lot of shovelware, but there's some really phenomenal games out there made by incredibly small teams, and some of them get the credit they deserve, and a lot of them don't, unfortunately.
Yep, absolutely.
One that comes to mind recently that is a phenomenal game, I don't know how else to describe it, is Hollow Knight. I know we've talked about it several times in the podcast before, but it was pretty much made by two people. And that game, as far as a Metroidvania goes, is just top-notch.
Yes, absolutely.
The animation, the art style, the sound effects, just everything, the gameplay. It's nearly perfect.
Yeah,
it's incredibly difficult.
Thankfully, that's one of the few that did get the recognition it deserved, at least for the most part. It may not. I don't think it quite got to as much as it should have, but it definitely got a decent amount compared to others.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. And there are a lot of other ones that I've played, especially on the Switch lately. The Switch has become a haven for indie games that I really wish people would talk about more that they haven't. There's one just developed in my hometown here of Rochester called Wolverblade, which is an old school arcade beat 'em up with Celts, and you chop off guys' arms and throw them at them. It's a lot of fun.
Yes, I have not played it, but I definitely.
What are some of your thoughts about the growing indie game scene?
Well, for me, I like it. I mean, I absolutely love it. Well, and hate it at the same time. I've come across a few, and I went. And there was a couple weeks where I went through and I started playing multiple of them. Some really cheap ones that were like 99 cents, and others that were $5 to $10, whatever, on the Switch specifically because it was getting so many, and it still is. And I found a couple that were great, and then the rest were just like, it's like a lot of these are ports as well. So that's one thing about the Switch is a lot of the indie games on it are ports. So they've already kind of proven themselves on other systems. But as far as like on Steam and so forth, that's where you're getting a lot of this. Just put together something real quick, throw it out there, and see if it sticks. Or just throw it out there knowing that some people are going to buy it no matter what, just to try it. And hey, you make some money, great. And that's where my problem lies, is there are so many of these people, the shovelware and all that. It's like, just put together something and throw it out there. And it drives me crazy. And then, now, don't get me wrong, though. It is providing a lot of opportunity for these small development teams. Like you said, just a couple people develop, Hollow Knight, which is amazing. You look at Dead Cells, I'm pretty sure it was a small team as well. And it got, awards, many awards this year.
I think it was under 50.
Yeah. And, things like that, it gets these developers the recognition they deserve. And, it puts a good game out there for pretty good price, too. And that's great. But then you have all these...
Yeah, I agree.
The problem is trying to find the good ones.
Having a large catalog at an affordable price makes it a lot more advantageous for the consumer these days. 10 years ago, pretty much all the games were $60, and you didn't have these $10, $15, $20, $5 games, and now you do.
Mm-hmm. And that's great. It really is. But the one thing I will say is it's so flooded, it's hard to find those good ones. Now, thankfully, you have people that do the reviews and everything.
You have a lot to sift through.
Yeah, the problem is some really great games still slip through the cracks, I'm sure. But The only other issue I would really say is you look at, well, it was back in 1983. You had the video game crash. I mean, literally, video games almost just went away completely, and a lot of that was because of these, games that just flooded the market that were horrible. Absolutely done horribly. It was so many, and I mean, there were multiple consoles that were thrown out there that were really cheap, and you're seeing even that nowadays. I mean, what's that one rapper that has started putting out these, and all it is he's bought up a bunch of consoles from China that are these cheap things with some old games thrown in on them, and it's I worry. I know the video game market will never crash again.
I think he actually had to Soldier Boy. I think.
Yes, thank you. Yep. And it's just.
I think we're far from it crashing again. It was Soldier Boy, I think, and
it was.
He's actually had to stop selling them, I believe, from what I read.
Good.
Yeah. And they, from what I understand, they were more than just like a little more than like a Raspberry Pi type thing.
It was so. Like I saw one YouTuber. He opened one up, and it's literally this was all that was actually part of the system, and then a couple wires and connectors, and it's like it was just ridiculous. But my whole point about that is, if we have this huge flood of indie games and, let's say 50% of them are crap, it'll turn people off from trying these new games, is what I'm worried about. And I'm hoping it.
Yeah, I think the consumers these days are generally getting a little bit smarter.
Mm-hmm. But I was saying, I hope the bad ones.
And they're getting smarter, and they're not.
We got delay.
Yeah. Well, and I think consumers are trying to. I've been having trouble hearing you most of the podcast.
Oh, really?
The consumers are getting smarter, and they're knowing. Well, let's not buy this one. Let's not buy that one. You can look at a publisher's track record and see what kind of stuff they're putting out, and come up with a game plan on your purchases from there. Now, there's a lot of indie games that are really good that aren't being talked about. They're not getting their due, and I don't know if it's just because there's too many and people aren't writing about them. They don't have the right PR. It's hard to say. One of them that comes to mind is a game I reviewed a couple months ago called Moonlighter, which is a procedurally generated dungeon diver that is just phenomenal.
Yeah.
If you like, Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past, it's a must-have. It's on PC, Switch, Xbox, PlayStation 4. It's a game, that I cannot talk enough about. It's really good, and that's one of the ones I feel like has been talked about a little bit, but not really to the level it should be.
Yeah,
and that's what's unfortunate with the indie game scene.
Yeah,
as we've said, a lot of stuff on the wayside.
I reviewed that Into the Breach, and it was one I loved. And now, thankfully, it got a decent amount of recognition. And there was another
and that's because it was on the Nintendo Direct.
Mm-hmm,
I think, honestly. I mean, it did well on Steam before that, but Nintendo, including on the Direct, just gave it millions of eyes on it immediately. Anyone that watched that Direct saw Into the Breach is available immediately. So,
Yoku's Island Express. That was another one.
Yoku's Island Express. Yep.
I really loved, and I don't think it got enough recognition. A really, really fun, unique twist on pinball, basically, but done in such a unique way.
Pinball and Metroidvanias. Yep.
Right. Exactly. And I thought it was done really well, and I did not see hardly any recognition for it. So yeah, definitely, there are those games that aren't being.
Yeah, the only person from the. I would say the only person I think I've heard of from the mainstream games media talk about it was Damon Hatfield at IGN. They kept saying, "Well, I'm playing Yoku's Island Express every week on GameScoop." I really like that game too. I played it over the summer. It's so unique and so well done. All the sound effects. It can be a bit frustrating because you have to hit the right pinball move to advance onto the next screen at times, and you may try it 30 times before you get it, but it still is a lot of fun.
Yeah, I agree.
What else we got here?
Well,
another thing that's helping indie games is Xbox is doing things like they've got their, what do they call the
Game Pass?
The ID at Xbox, the indie developers, and then they do like, well, the Game Pass and like the Winter of Arcade and things like that.
Yeah.
Where Microsoft has done a really good job of showcasing some of these indie developers and what they're doing, and in some cases buying them.
Yeah.
You know, companies like Obsidian and Ninja Theory. They completely funded, or they, I think, mostly funded Cuphead, which I haven't played yet, but I've heard is a really good platformer and extremely difficult. Yeah, so if you like a challenge.
I've looked at some videos, haven't actually played it myself, definitely want to. But
yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to check it out. It's on my list. It's like so many other games. Speaking of Game Pass, let's talk about this month. We're showcasing, we're spotlighting some of the games that are on Game Pass because a lot of us have it now in Elf Nerds Guild, and there's some gems out there that you may or may not know about. And again, you know, some of these are smaller titles, and we're just gonna help spotlight some of the ones that we think are good. So, why don't you start with one of your first choice?
Well, I went with some a little more unknowns last week. So this week I picked up a couple that I think everybody knows about, but I love. Doom, the most recent one is on there for free, and it's such a great game, just a fun game to pick up and just go around blasting demons and stuff. I mean, it's a great, if you're looking for a really deep story, or even any type of RPG elements or something like that, then this isn't it. This is literally just go and shoot everything you see.
It's very arcadey.
Yes.
What is it? I've heard it described as and I forget where I heard this quote from, but Dark Souls is a game where you're locked in a room with all the monsters, but Doom is a game where the monsters are locked in the room with you.
Yes, exactly. And it is. It makes you feel powerful and just have fun blowing everything away. If you haven't tried it, it is definitely a good one to just waste some time, just have some fun, just killing everything in sight. So I would definitely highly recommend it.
And it's a beautiful game too.
It is. Yes.
So, and I think later this year they've got the sequel coming out. So
yep. Doom Eternal.
If you haven't played the first one, now's the time to jump back in.
Yep, absolutely. And what about you? Which one is yours?
One I want to talk about is Resident Evil Revelations 2. Now, this is not the Resident Evil 2 that's being remade and coming out at the end of the month. This is a different storyline, different characters. I played it on the PlayStation a few years back, and man, this game is really good. If you like your traditional Resident Evil games, you can't go wrong with it.
Nice. Okay.
I highly recommend it. You play as it's an episodic game, and you play as an old guy and a girl. I don't remember their names, but I think he is in search for his daughter, and he finds the girl along the way. Now the girl can't attack, so when you play as her, it adds an element of fear and danger,
more
and survival and urgency. Mm-hmm. Whereas the old guy has guns. There's also a I think it's a multiplayer mode where it's more like horde mode, which is pretty cool. So if you like shooting zombies, that's a good one. Yeah, check out Resident Evil Revelations 2. If you started today, you could easily get it done by the time Resident Evil 2 Remake comes out on the 25th.
Nice.
So it's good game. All right, what do you got next?
Well, another very well-known game. Just came to Game Pass, a week ago or something like that. Mortal Kombat 10 or X, whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely, if you like fighters, it's a great one. It really is. Graphics are amazing. The new characters that they've added in. Jason. Predator. Seriously, they're pretty awesome. Very good. Controls. Good multiplayer. I can't really say anything bad about it. Now, it's definitely not for kids. We're at that generation. When I was a kid, it was like, oh yeah, Mortal Kombat is, the original was just, the devil, and at that point in time.
It's the one you had to like get your grandparents to buy because they weren't going to look at the title.
Right.
And you had to sneak it in the house from your parents. Yeah. I remember that.
Yeah. Now, obviously, things have changed over the years. It is extremely, extremely gory and much more realistic than the original Mortal Kombat as well. So, you parents out there might want to, debate on whether or not your kids should have that. But it is a lot of fun, and they did announce that Mortal Kombat 11 is coming out. So
this year,
I think it is this year, right?
I think in April.
Is it that soon?
I think so. Wow. Yeah. And what's interesting, and a lot of people haven't really mentioned in that announcement, is it's coming to the Switch as well.
Seriously?
Oh yeah. And
I didn't know that. Oh
yeah. And it's not. I'm assuming it's not going to have the sweat mode like it did on Super Nintendo. Where they replace the blood with sweat.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, it's going to be on. It's going to be on Switch. So.
Nice. Okay.
You can perform fatalities on the go.
I was. What was it? You had the fatalities, the babalities, the
brutality.
Brutalities. The friend out. Friendship. Whatever they called it. Just all the random ones you could find. I always loved those.
Yeah, I could never really figure those out. I wasn't very good at it. Street Fighter was more my bag.
I got to be honest. Tekken was mine. Tekken 3 was my favorite. I think it was 3 that had the panda bear and all that. And I always loved that one. That was a good one. Actually, I still have it somewhere around here.
Right on.
So, but yeah, it's definitely a good fighter. Definitely worth checking out, especially for free.
Yeah. Next up on our Game Pass highlights is a game that came out last month by a small Swedish team called the Bearded Ladies. They came from the team that made Hitman and Payday 2, I believe, or Payday. And they made a game completely unlike either of those, and it's a tactical strategy game called Mutant Year Zero: Road to Eden. And I wrote a review on this for the Alpha Nerds Guild. It's up on the website. The game is a lot of fun. It is incredibly beautiful. The landscapes are just great. The writing is really good too. So it takes place in the future in a post-apocalyptic. I don't know really. They don't really say where, but it's after the Red Plague decimated the world, and you play as non-human characters. They're mutants. Some of them look human, but they're still mutants. And you'll walk around, and you come upon like an old house it's now dilapidated and rotting away, and they've got like the little plastic house and slide outside for the kids, and like the Borman the pig will walk up. He's like, they were that small that they could live inside this? Wow, what happened? And you find all sorts of antiquated antique artifacts where you can turn them into the village. I think they call it the Ark for upgrades. Things like a boombox, and the description says, "Don't push the buttons; it'll explode." Things like that.
Nice.
But the characters are really cool. It's got good gameplay. It's decent weapon selection. I really like it. It's one you should definitely check out. It came out right at the end of the year. You know, I think if it had come out in like August, I think a lot of more people would have jumped on the train immediately. But it is a really good game.
Yeah, I saw you playing it there on Twitch the one time, and yeah, it definitely looked really interesting. And that's one of my, you know, once I get some things set up, I'm one of the ones on my backlog to play. Definitely.
Yeah. You know, and it can be incredibly difficult. I played through it on easy. On normal, they should, you know, when you're picking your difficulty, it shows you what each one does. And on normal, the enemies deal additional damage. I was like, well, that doesn't seem too normal to me. You know, if this is the baseline and at normal they're up here, then that's not normal. That's hard. So it can be difficult, but it's rewarding. And I want to say you can do the whole thing in about 25, 30 hours.
No, okay.
It's not time consuming. It's
right.
Like, I don't know if you ever played XCOM or XCOM 2.
Mm-hmm.
It can take forever. So
yeah, I haven't beat either of them. I've played them. I just haven't beat either of them.
Yeah, I don't think many people have.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of a much better version of the mobile turn-based, like the Walking Dead had one, stuff like that, and you know, they're fun on the mobile, but just watching you play, there was so much more to the Mutant Year Zero that definitely very appealing.
If you like games where you have to be stealthy, that's a game for you too, because you can actually position your three characters in an area and pick off silently one or two of the stragglers on that given map, and you can whittle an enemy down. So you might have 15 enemies on a given map, and take out one or two here, and then one or two up there, and then one or two over here. So when you engage the main body, you don't have to face all those guys.
Yeah.
And so yeah, you can set up ambushes, and you have silenced weapons. So yeah, you can. There's some unique options that other games like that don't have. You also, at times, you have to actually just sneak past enemies. You'll be level 10 and they're level 50. Well, you're not going to win. No matter how good you are, you will not win. So,
right.
But you can go back later and defeat them.
Yeah.
So, once you defeat an enemy from a map, they're gone.
Okay. So there isn't any respawns or anything like that. Mm-hmm. Okay.
And there's a good gear system in it too. And one thing I really appreciate with that this does, and a lot of games, a lot of RPGs don't, is when you equip the gear, it changes the appearance of the character. I am a sucker for that. I don't know why, but I just really like it. Anyways, moving on. That's it for our Game Pass highlights for the week. Tune in next week. We'll have some more. Upcoming games, video game news. As I mentioned earlier, Resident Evil 2 Remake is coming out towards the end of the month on the 25th, I believe.
And don't forget, you have the demo.
Yes. It starts from the 11th to the 30th. It's a 30-minute one-shot. So the way it works is that if you beat it, you die. If you beat it, you're done.
No. If you beat it, you can go back.
Oh, you can go back. Yeah. If you die, you can respawn, but you only have 30 minutes.
Yep. As much as you can do within 30 minutes.
Yep. And at the end, there's supposedly going to be an exclusive trailer. So, yeah, if you're planning on getting it, play it for half an hour, see if you like it. I have heard the controls are different in this than they are in previous Resident Evils. Yeah. And they're using the proprietary RE engine. One thing I heard is that with the knife, when you stab a zombie with it, you have to then retrieve it from the body. You don't just keep it equipped. So
interesting.
Yeah,
I'll definitely be trying it out.
We've also got in 2 days here, we got, what do they call it? New Super Mario Brothers Deluxe Wii.
It's the New Super Mario Brothers U Deluxe, I think. But yes, it's the new Super Mario Brothers U from the Wii U plus the Luigi U from the Wii U, and it's all combined. Very much the more of a classic Mario Bros style.
Yep, your side-scrolling platformer.
Yep, absolutely. A real good game, and having both Mario and Luigi sets of it definitely
It's 2 games.
Yeah, it is 2 full games. They are both full games. So definitely it should be fun, especially anybody that loves the retro style like that definitely should try it out.
Right on. Yeah, and that's the first of a string of games that Nintendo's got coming out this year, first-party exclusives.
Yeah,
they just announced, I think yesterday, Yoshi's. What do they call it?
Not paper.
Not Woolly World. Yoshi's Creatives. Well, the Yoshi game is coming out March 29th.
Okay.
They just street dated that, and Nintendo also announced that Dragon's Dogma is coming to the Switch this year.
Oh, really? Okay. I had never played it or anything. Never, don't know too much about it, but I know of it.
It's definitely a bit more on the adult scale than your typical games that Nintendo would allow. So that's a good sign. Yeah, so keep an eye out for Nintendo because they got a lot coming out this year.
Yeah.
Did you hear that some of the devs from at Blizzard Activision that were making Hearthstone left and they started their own studio? And they got to deal with Marvel. They're going to make a mobile game for Marvel. No real details yet other than that. But if you played, I don't know if you played Hearthstone, it's a pretty good game. I'm excited to see what they can do, and I'm hoping it's more than just a card game.
Right, yeah, and that's something. It's like there is such a huge number of these card games for mobile right now. I hope that's not what they're focusing on. It's like, do more like a you have you collect the cards for the specific fighters, but then actually go out there and do battle. Like don't just trading cards and not Magic the Gathering, whatever, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh. They're great, but we have so many of them. We don't need more. Do something different.
Yeah.
And so we'll see. Now, I have faith in them. Like you said, Hearthstone's a great game, real good one, and so those developers definitely could do something really good with Marvel. And if they, getting licensed from Marvel, I'm sure they'll try and make sure that it's done well.
Oh yeah.
And then wasn't there? Who was it? There was another big group that left another big developer recently, talking about doing their own thing. Now they didn't have like some big deal or whatever. It was, and I can't remember who it was. Maybe I might be thinking of something else. I'll have to look it up.
I do know some of the guys from IGN UK left, and they're starting their own thing, their own YouTube channel.
Okay.
Yep. But I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. It seems like people leave devs.
Well, yeah.
And start their own things. And it might just be that they're just sick of making Ratchet and Clank or whatever that studio makes, and they want to make a puzzle game.
Yeah. So. Yeah, we'll see. But and who knows? Maybe they'll get bought up by Xbox like everybody else. Oh, geez.
Are there any other upcoming games you want to talk about?
No, the one thing, make sure if you haven't done it yet, I'm not sure if it's available anymore, but no, it is. Yeah, the Devil May Cry 5 demo is still out there. Definitely.
I thought it got pulled down.
Did it? Dang it.
I think it's pulled down now, but if you had already claimed it, you can still play it. That's and that was on Xbox exclusively, correct?
I believe so, yeah. And I played the demo, loved it. Cannot wait for the game to come out. So,
and that's March 5th, March 8th?
Dang, you're asking me
somewhere
too much.
In there.
I can't remember dates.
Somewhere in that time frame. It's going to be a packed 3 months.
Oh, it is. I mean, and then you got the Marvel Captain Marvel.
Yep, that's coming out in March.
Yeah, looking forward to that. Saw the new trailer for it. It looks pretty cool.
I've yet to see a trailer for it. I'm not too big on the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It became too much for me.
Yeah.
They kind of lost their special quality because it was we went from getting a trickle to a fire hose. So
I see what you're saying there. No, I've been into them from the beginning, Iron Man and all that. And so I've been able to keep up with them, and just everyone is different, depending on the characters that are in it. It really does make them unique each time. So I've been able to keep up with them and love them. I've been going back through watching them from here, here and there. Just watch Infinity War again and love it. So
I do like the Spider-Man movies, though. And I liked the Amazing Spider-Man movies with Andrew Garfield. I'm just a big Spider-Man fan. So
right.
And speaking of Spider-Man and video game news, it was Marvel's weekly Fantastic Four podcast or something. I don't know if podcast is the right term. But I guess at the end of it, they announced, and this was just yesterday, or the day before, that on the Spider-Man game on the PlayStation 4, Marvel's Spider-Man, there's going to be something fantastic coming soon. So it could be the Fantastic Spider suit, or it could be that the Avengers Tower becomes a Fantastic Four tower, or they add the Fantastic Four tower, something like that. So if you've got Spider-Man and you're a big Marvel fan, keep an eye out for that. Maybe it's even more DLC. Who knows?
Right.
I mean, we'll keep, as we find out more, we will let you know. But
yes.
Yeah. Any other upcoming games?
Rage 2, still looking forward to that here in a few months.
Yep.
Definitely. And Rage is still on the Game Pass, the first one. And yeah, they just Game Informer, the most recent one, was all about Rage 2. If you're considering it, that was a really good article on it, so definitely check that out.
Right on. All right, on to the next topic. We've got our upcoming events. As you know, every Friday night, Hogo, and that's Michael Webb, and Josh Van Cleek do the Friday recap, followed up by the Friday free-for-all, and we're looking to expand that to consoles as well. So, keep an eye out for that. If you haven't already done so, go to alphanerds.com and sign up for the newsletter. We send out a newsletter every month around the 15th, so go ahead and sign up for that.
That's alphanerdsguild.com.
Yep, alphanerdsguild.com. Not the group, not the Facebook page. It's the website.
Yep.
And
then it's Stay Connected, I believe, is what that's under, correct?
No, right as you go to the website, it should pop up.
Oh, that's right. Yep. Yeah, the blog with all of our reviews and things like that, that's under the Stay Connected.
Yep. You go to the hamburger bar in the upper right-hand corner, and you can click on that, and it'll say, scroll down and say blog. That's what they call those. Those little... the 3 lines, they call it a hamburger bar.
Oh, okay.
Because it looks like a burger.
All right.
I've been working with some IT guys, so...
I did not know that.
Yeah, at least that's what they call it. I mean, the guys I work with.
Yeah.
Streamer of the month for until the next one's announced here is Katarian. Check his stuff out on Twitch. Yeah, so I think that's all I got for today. Anything else you want to talk about?
Not currently, no. I think, like I said, I've been kind of busy with, working on stuff here at the house, so haven't been able to delve too much into playing lately, but going to get back to that Clouds and Sheep, get that review done up, and yeah, other than that, I don't know, I might even get back on some Monster Hunter World, or
I gotta play that again.
Yeah, I need to get back into that. Yeah, I might do another run through of God of War as well. So
I have that now, and I need to play it.
You did get it? Okay, good.
Yeah,
you need to play it. That's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's about it for me.
All right, same here. Thanks for tuning in. You all have a good night. See you next week.
See you, everybody.